It's Rick from For Community, creating community spaces so you can connect with others and also with God. I just celebrated a birthday in my house this week. One of my girls became more of a teenager than she was before, and I've got to be honest, while I'm celebrating her growth and all that she's becoming, it's also incredibly humiliating for me. I don't know if you've got kids, but if you've got kids and they're becoming teenagers and getting older, have you noticed that they're becoming smarter than you? Because I notice that my kids are becoming smarter than me. And it's a little bit humiliating sometimes when I'm doing something and my kids step up and they do it much better. Now, I would say, thankfully, some of my kids are totally rocking the cooking skills. And I don't have many cooking skills and they cook better than me. That's okay. But man, with technology, they're better. With math, they're better. With a couple of things, they're smarter than me. And for me, that can be totally humiliating because it's a total attack on my ego. Have you noticed this too? If you're a parent, have you noticed that as your kids are growing, they're getting smarter? And have you had that surprise moment when your child comes up alongside you after you've been trying to do something for an hour or two? They come up alongside you and within a minute they have it solved, they have it fixed, and they have it done. Please tell me I'm not alone. If you've got a great experience, if you've got a great example of how your kids are outshining you, go ahead and leave a comment and make me feel better about myself. I have a very, very simple point today, and I think it's going to be short, and hopefully it's going to generate some discussion as well, because I love it when these videos generate discussion. So here's my point. Today, I want to look at the benefits of humility, the benefits of being humble, the benefits of you and I choosing humility over the negative effects of too much self-belief, self-inflation. We're going to read a part of Mark chapter 6, verses 45 to 56. And while we're reading this, I want you to notice two groups of people and the two different outcomes. One of the groups of people, the group of people that are in the boat, they chose self-belief, too much self-belief, and I want you to notice the negative outcome. And then when they get to the shore, I want you to notice the other group of people waiting on the shore, how they chose humility, and they chose to recognize that they needed something, and I want you to see their positive outcome. And then we're going to look to see if there's any application for you. Mark chapter 6, verse 45 to 56. Immediately after this, Jesus insisted that his disciples get back into the boat and head across the lake to Bethsaida while he sent the people home. After telling everyone goodbye, he went up into the hills by himself to pray. Late that night, the disciples were in their boat in the middle of the lake, and Jesus was alone on land. He saw that they were in serious trouble, rowing hard and struggling against the wind and the waves. About 3 o'clock in the morning, Jesus came toward them, walking on the water. He intended to go past them, but when they saw him walking on the water, they cried out in terror, thinking he was a ghost. They were all terrified when they saw him. But Jesus spoke to them at once. "Don't be afraid," he said. "Take courage, I'm here." Then he climbed into the boat and the wind stopped. They were totally amazed, for they still didn't understand the significance of the miracle of the loaves. Their hearts were too hard to take it in. After they crossed the lake, they landed at Gennesaret. They brought the boat to shore and climbed out. The people recognized Jesus at once and ran throughout the whole area, carrying sick people on mats to wherever they heard he was. Wherever he went, in villages, cities, or the countryside, they brought the sick out to the marketplaces. They begged him to let the sick touch at least the fringe of his robe, and all who touched him were healed. Hey kids, remember to keep your eyes on the background for all of the characters that are hidden in there. And also please remember to watch this week's episode of Connect HQ. I don't have a single point. I've got a discussion topic for us, please. Humility versus self-belief. That's where I'm headed. I've got 3 points to help generate a discussion about humility and self-belief and what it may look like for you. First of all, let's talk about self-belief. Self-belief can be a deficit. I don't mean all the time, but self-belief can be a deficit. I'd like you to notice the disciples in the boat and see if you see what I'm seeing here. Notice that they kept on rowing. They're caught in a storm. They're rowing very, very hard. I mean, Jesus sees them caught in a storm from the shore, and they're rowing and they're rowing and they're rowing, and we see Jesus simply walking past them. What in the world is going on? Jesus noticed that they were hard-hearted, and the disciples didn't notice that they were filled with self-belief, and they didn't know that they didn't recognize that they needed Jesus. So as Jesus is walking by them, even though Jesus is so close, he's close enough to see them from the shore, they could have called out to him for help. But instead, they kept on rowing. They're trying to do things on their own. They're trying to do things out of their own strength. They're self-inflated in their minds, thinking that we can do this alone. We don't need Jesus. And so Jesus sees them struggling in the boat. Why does Jesus walk by instead of helping them right away? Because Jesus is leaving them to their thing. They're self-inflated with their own self-belief. And so Jesus is leaving them and just walking right by. And thankfully they notice him. And when they notice him, suddenly there's something wrong here. And so Jesus comes and helps them once they notice him. That's the example from the text. But let's talk about you for just a minute, okay? You may be working really, really hard doing life your way. And let's just face it, we got to work like a dog, right? We have to work so hard just to make it, just to pay the bills, just to advance, just to get to where we want to go. All of our dreams require work. All of our goals require that we work hard and we're so disciplined. But you know what? Sometimes, as long as we're working very, very hard, sometimes we start believing in ourselves a little bit more than we should be. Sometimes we start believing that we're all that we need. We can make it on our own. We don't need people around us to help us. And the thing is, all the people around us see how hard we're working and see that we believe that we can really do it ourselves. And so they just keep walking by. They see that they could really benefit us. They see that they can really help us. But sometimes we are so self-inflated. We have so much self-belief that the people around us that see that they can make a difference and help us in our life, they just keep walking by because we're working so hard and we believe in ourselves so much that people just leave us to our own thing. And we see it in the text. The disciples were filled with their self-belief that they could row to the other side just fine, that Jesus just kind of left them to themselves. You and I get caught in this too, and we're filled up with so much self-belief that the people around us will just walk us by, just like Jesus walked by the disciples. Here's what I see from the text, and hopefully this is going to generate some dialogue. Here's what I believe. When we hold our beliefs so high, when we believe that we are all that we need and we don't need anybody else's help, I think that the people around us create this bubble that they choose not to penetrate, and they choose just to walk around. They leave us to our own business. They don't reach out to help because they know that if they try to reach out to help us, they're just going to be received by our rejection of them. So when you and I self-proclaim our greatness, or when we do things to show that we are all that we need, the people around us see that and they don't even bother helping us because they believe that if they try to help us, they're probably going to be rejected anyways. So that's my thought on being filled with too much self-belief. When we're filled with too much self-belief, when we're filled with the idea that we need nobody else, we do everything on our own, the negative outcome is that the people around us won't help us. And also the negative outcome on our spirituality is that Jesus will just keep on walking by, because what he anticipates is rejection if he were to interact with us. Okay, second of all, let's look at how humility can be a benefit. When Jesus landed on the shore, everyone flocked to him and even sent word to others because they all knew that they needed him. And they went to marketplaces. They went to Walmart. They went to Giant Tiger, whatever place Jesus happened. And I know there's no Walmart, Giant Tiger. I get that. But it says the marketplace. Wherever Jesus was, people came to him because they had humility. And in their humility, they recognized that even though they had self-efficacy, even though they were able to go on about their business and meet their goals, they still recognized that they had a need. They still recognized that they needed others. And certainly in this moment, they recognized how much they needed Jesus. And in their humility, they approached Jesus. And what did Jesus do? The outcome was certainly different than disciples. Instead of the disciples being afraid, it's a ghost, because that's the only way Jesus would get their attention. It's a ghost. Jesus didn't have to do that with the people on the shore. They recognized their need of him right away. And so what did they do? They immediately were able to receive healing because of their humility. Okay, very different outcome. And I'm not only talking about Jesus. I'm not only talking about us connecting with Jesus. I'm talking really about everyone. When you and I, in humility, when we recognize the strengths of other people around us, when we can see other people as being able to help us, then they figure out how they can engage with us. When you, in humility, recognize the strengths of others around you, you are helping them to figure out how they can engage with you. I mean, that's my opinion. That's what I'm seeing in the text. The more that you and I can recognize the strengths of others, when we do recognize the strength of others, when we applaud them for their strengths, they then work a little bit harder at noticing us and trying to figure out, okay, so how can I engage with you? How can I add my strength to your life? And how can we become better together? So the discussion point I'd like to bring to the table is this. When we choose in humility to recognize strengths around us, you and I actually benefit. There is a better outcome rather than you and I leaning into our own self-belief and inflating our self-worth so that we exclude others from helping us. Here's my closing thought, my third point. Humility is essential for receiving Jesus. When I talk about having faith in Jesus, please receive Jesus, please believe in Jesus, there are two essential ingredients to what receiving Jesus and to what faith looks like. And one of the essential ingredients of faith is this: humility, as opposed to self-belief. The opposite of humility, at least in this case, it's not hubris, it's not pride. The opposite of humility is actually self-belief, because humility essentially is being honest about ourselves with ourselves. Self-belief is being dishonest with ourselves about ourselves. You can either believe that you need Jesus and all that he has to offer, or you can believe that you have everything you need all on your own and that Jesus doesn't really have anything of benefit to offer you. You can't do both. That's why humility is one of the two essential ingredients for what faith looks like, for what it means to receive Jesus. Here's a takeaway I have. Again, I want to generate some dialogue here. I want to generate discussion. Give humility a try. That's my takeaway. Give humility a try. Have you noticed the benefits of choosing humility? Have you noticed that it's a far better outcome when you recognize the strengths of others and invite them to join you, so that together you're growing stronger together and you're growing better together? If you have any kind of experience or any kind of knowledge about recognizing the strength of others and choosing humility, please leave a comment so we could all learn together in this. However, if you also want to disagree with that, and if you also want to say, okay, yeah, but self-belief is so vitally important, because if we don't believe in ourselves, then we're just going to be kind of cringy. We're going to be weak. We're not going to come to the table in full strength, and we're never going to get where we want to go. So that's a good point too. If you've got a good point to make about why we need to be choosing self-belief, then make sure you put that in the comments too, please. All that to say, give humility a try. From what it looks like in the text here, it looks to me like humility leads to a better outcome. Humility, when we choose to be honest with ourselves about ourselves, and also to be honest about the strengths that we see around us, it invites people in and we get stronger together. And also, when in humility we would please choose to see Jesus as so awesome and glorious and wonderful, that we would say, okay, Jesus, I think I need you. Jesus, I need all that you are. Jesus, I need what you have, and I want to follow you, recognizing that I need you. Let that self-belief kind of get out of the way. If we choose to believe in ourselves, say, I don't really need Jesus, I can do this on my own, yes, fine. Jesus is just going to walk by you like he walked by the disciples. And hopefully one day you'll interact with God or intersect with God, and you'll say, it's a ghost. And she's like, oh no, it's actually me. I'm here to help. Maybe you'll have one of those experiences, but let me just ask you to do this. Would you please consider in humility to recognize that Jesus has something that could perhaps benefit you, that Jesus has something you need. And in humility, would you please say, Jesus, I think I'm going to give you a try. I'm going to see if you really have what I need. In humility, I'm going to recognize your strength, and I'm going to applaud you for your strengths, and I'm going to invite you into my life as I try to learn what it means to be a follower of you, and we're going to be stronger together. And that's it. That's it from me to you for now. If you don't already have a community that you're connecting with, can I please encourage you to connect with For Community? We have a couple of different times we meet, largely on Zoom. We also meet at coffee shops, on curbs and stuff like that. So would you please reach out? And if you don't have a community, I would love for you to connect with us and continue to engage in some dialogue and just grow together. And it's great. I love making new friends. Please be my friend. Okay, that's it from me to you for now. See you next time.